Good morning students, myself Surbhi Sharma from Shivjyoti Educational Group. I hope you all are doing well. Please stay safe at your home. So today we are going to start with Geography chapter 3, that is our changing earth. In this chapter we are going to read about the various changes, various forces which takes place above the earth's surface and below the earth's surface. Let's see the topics which we are going to cover today. Lithospheric plates, earth movements, volcano, earthquake predictions, major landforms, work of river, work of sea waves, work of ice, work of wind. Okay, let's start with the chapter lithospheric plates. Now first of all, before starting this lithospheric plates, let me tell you what is lithosphere. We have read this in chapter 1 also. There were 4 domains of the environment: lithosphere, hydrosphere, biosphere and atmosphere. So lithospheric plates, lithosphere is one of those 4 domains. That lithosphere is broken down into several numbers, that is known as lithospheric plates. Let us read it. The lithosphere is broken into a number of plates known as lithospheric plates. These plates move around very slowly because of the movement of the molten magma inside the earth. The molten magma inside the earth moves in the circular manner. The movement of these plates causes changes on the surface of the earth. Now why these plates move? Because of the movement of the molten magma inside the earth. Further we move on to the earth movements. Now what is there? Earth movements has been divided into 2 parts, that is exogenic forces and endogenic forces. Now what is the difference between exogenic forces and endogenic forces? Exogenic forces are the forces which takes place on the surface of the earth, and endogenic forces are forces which takes place below the surface of the earth. Let us read it once. The earth movements are divided on the basis of the forces which cause them. These forces are endogenic forces and exogenic forces. Endogenic forces, the forces which act in the interior of the earth, are called endogenic forces. Endogenic forces sometimes produce sudden movements and at other time produce slow movements. Sudden movements like earthquakes and volcanoes cause mass destruction over the surface of the earth. Exogenic forces, the forces that work on the surface of the earth, are called exogenic forces. Now let's understand this with a flow chart. This flow chart is there in your book also. Earth movements, as we have read, 2 forces are there, endogenic forces and exogenic forces. Endogenic forces, sudden forces and diastrophic forces. Sudden forces, earthquake, volcano, landslides, and diastrophic forces, building mountains. Now what is the difference between sudden forces and diastrophic forces? Very slight difference is there, that is the difference of time period. Sudden forces includes the effect for a very shorter period of time, and diastrophic forces includes its effect for a very long period of time. Exogenic forces, erosional and depositional, river, wind, sea waves and glaciers. Further we move upon to a volcano, that is example of endogenic forces. A volcano is a vent in the earth crust through which molten material erupts suddenly. Okay, you can see this in the diagram. Magma chamber is there through which molten magma erupts out. Then travelling through a vent crater, it comes out in the form of a lava. Earthquake, it is also example of endogenic forces. When the lithospheric plates move, the surface of the earth vibrates and it travels all around the earth. These vibrations are called earthquake. Okay, and why these lithospheric plates move? Because of the movement of the molten magma inside the earth. You can see this in the diagram. Focus is there from where the earthquake occurs, and just above the focus, epicenter is there. Okay, focus, the place in the crust where the movement starts, is called the focus. Here is the focus. Epicenter, the place on the surface above the focus, is called the epicenter. Vibrations travel outwards from the epicenter as waves. This epicenter, from this the vibrations travel outwards. The greatest damage is usually closest to the epicenter and the strength of the earthquake decreases away from the center. So, as the waves moves away from this epicenter, the effect of the earthquake is less at this place and more at this place. Earthquake predictions. Now, how an earthquake can be predicted? Some common earthquake prediction methods adopted locally by the people include studying animal behavior, fish in the ponds get agitated, snakes come out to the surface of the earth. So, these are the common methods through which people come to know about the earthquake. Major landforms. The landscape is being continuously worn away by two processes, that is weathering and erosion. Weathering is breaking down of the rocks and erosion is getting eroded. Okay, and this can be done with the through water, wind or anything. Weathering is the breaking up of the rocks on the earth surface. Erosion is the wearing away of the landscape by different agents like water, wind and ice. The eroded material is carried away or transported by water, wind, etc. and eventually deposited. So, the things which are getting eroded away, for example, rock, sand, silt, clay, sediments. So, when they are getting eroded away, so there will come a time when they have to get deposited. That is known as deposition. This process of erosion and deposition creates different landforms on the surface of the earth. I hope the difference between erosion and deposition is clear. Further we move on to the next slide, that is work of a river. How does a river work? When the river tumbles at a steep angle over a hard rocks or down a steep valley side, it forms a waterfall. Okay, now how does a waterfall form? See, when the river flows from a very steep angle, when the water flows downwards from a steep angle, it forms a waterfall. As the river enters the plain, it twists and turns, forming large bands known as meander. You can see the meander in this diagram. Okay, when the flow of the water is very high, what happens is this, these kind of shapes are formed, these bands are formed, but when the water flow is very less, when the water moves back to its normal speed, this meander cuts itself from the river, like this crescent shape structure is formed, which is known as oxbow lake. So, from the meander itself, oxbow lakes are formed. At this point of time, the meander loop cuts off from the river and forms a cut-off lake called oxbow lake. During flooding, the river deposits layer of fine soil and other material called sediments along its banks. This leads to the formation of a flat fertile plain called floodplain. Now, what happened is, when the water is getting at a very high speed, when it is flowing at a very high speed, it takes many substances with itself like sand, silt, clay, small rocks, sediments. Okay, but when the flow gets decreased, when the water flow gets decreased, these sediments, these materials gets deposited on the banks of the river, which forms flood plain. The raised banks along the river are called levees. The collection of sediments from all the mouths forms a delta. Next we move upon towards work of sea waves. The erosion and deposition of the sea waves gives rise to coastal landforms. Due to sea waves, hollow caves are formed on the rocks. They are called sea caves. You can see in the diagram, this sea cave has been formed. Now, how does this sea cave has formed? This is formed because when the water hits this part of the rock, again and again, a part of this rocks gets eroded away. Okay, so a cave like structure is formed, like this kind of structure is formed, when through which we can't see the other side of that rock, but such crescent shape, such a hollow shape is formed in the rock, that is known as sea cave. But further, when the water hits the same place again and again, what happened is there, this part of the rocks get eroded away fully. Like we can see the other side of the rock from this portion, you can see in this diagram. So, when we can see the other side of this rock from this hole, this is known as sea arc. When the further hitting of the water is there towards this rock, what happened is this, the roof of this rocks gets eroded away completely and such kind of structure is formed, that is known as stack. As cavities becomes bigger in size, only a roof of the caves remain, thus forming sea arcs. You can see sea arcs in this video, in this image. This is sea arc. The erosion further breaks the roof and only walls are left. It is called stacks. Again you can see stacks in this picture. The steep rocky coast rising almost vertically above the sea water is called sea cliff. Next we move upon towards the work of ice. Glaciers are rivers of ice. Now what are the glaciers? Okay, when a thick layer of ice gets deposited on the mountains, but when that ice melts down, it brings back to very small pieces of rock, sand, silt, clay, and even the pieces of snow also gets eroded away with that ice water. So which erode the landscape by bulldozing soil and stones to expose the solid rocks below. So that ice water bulldoze soil and stones to expose the solid rocks below. It is getting eroded with that ice water. The material carried by the glaciers such as big and small rocks, sand and silt get deposited. This deposits form glacial moraines. So the things which are getting eroded away with that ice water gets deposited after some particular period of time, and when they get deposited, that they forms glacial moraines. Next, work of wind. Now how does winds work in deserts? An active agent of erosion and deposition in the desert is wind. This is the only agent in the desert through which erosion and deposition takes place. Okay. It makes rocks in shape of a mushroom called mushroom rocks. Now how does mushroom rocks are formed? See, you can see this diagram. What is there? This rock is very broader from the above and very narrow from the below. Okay, so when the sand through wind hits the below part of that rock, it gets very narrower from the downwards and get broader from the upwards and takes the shape of a mushroom. That's why these rocks are known as mushroom rocks. When the wind stops blowing, the sand falls and get deposited in low hill-like structures. These are called sand dunes. Okay, so when this low hill-like structures are formed, when the sand gets eroded and get deposited over a particular place, it forms low hill-like structures known as sand dunes. When the grains of sand is very fine and light, the wind can carry it over very long distances. When such sand is deposited in large areas, it is called loess. So if you can relate, these sand dunes are a smaller part of loess. When these sand dunes are, when these low hill-like structures are deposited over a very large area, it is called loess. When it is deposited over a very small area, that forms sand dunes. So the bigger part of sand dunes is loess. I hope I am clear. You all understood the chapter well. Thank you.